It was a perfect week for Inter Miami. The win over Columbus to win the Supporters Shield, the win over Toronto to keep the record-setting season alive. We unpack it all on this week's edition of the Inter Miami Weekly Show. Welcome into a rainy Chase Stadium with the Arsenal great Kieran Gibbs. I'm Joe Malfa. We hope this rain stays away when it comes time for the playoffs because every game for Inter Miami is going to be here at Chase Stadium. Overall number one seed in MLS, Supporters Shield winners. Kieran, we knew what the stakes were this week. Beat Columbus, win the Shield, beat Toronto then as well. And you have an opportunity to chase down that record-setting New England team of 2021. Inter Miami checked both boxes in a big way. Oh, yeah, an absolutely huge way, Joe. Super impressive week for Miami. Congratulations to everyone at play. They've had a fantastic season, haven't they? A regular season, one to remember. And I think that, their approach to the game, particularly the Columbus game, you always kind of felt that they were there to get the win. No matter the performance, they played with an aura and a presence about them that was to say that this is the day that we win the Supporters Shield. And I felt that even from the opening minutes, the way that they played with personality and a confidence, that is what they need, going into the playoffs now. And definitely they have shown many times this season. They played like champions. It wasn't pretty at times, but you just felt that even in the difficult moments, the way that our back four dealt with individual battles, Drake again stepping up when needed, the midfield battling away. I just felt that the whole time during the game I didn't feel worried that they wouldn't come away with the result, and it was some huge performances. I think we have to give credit to players like Noah Allen, Ian Frey, who represent the fabric of the club in such a positive way, have stepped up in such a big game and performed the way that they have. They performed, like they were years ahead of their time, and that was just so impressive to see. And it just goes to show how far this team have come in such a short space of time. For me, the regular season tells you the kind of season that you've really had, because obviously you can finish it into the playoffs and have a pretty average season and still have a chance of winning the MLS Cup. But actually, the Supporters Shield is a representation of the season that you've had, and for them to go and have had this season that they've had in such a short space of time is remarkable. It's nothing short of than remarkable. And to your point, I mean, it's easy to lose sight sometimes of the fact that we just started in 2020. We're here in 2024. It's only a 4-year-old club. A lot has happened in that span, and groundbreaking on a new stadium, Miami Freedom Park on the way, Messi, and all that's come with that. A lot has changed in 4 years, but it's still only 4 years, and to have a Leagues Cup, to have a Supporters Shield in 4 years, it means a lot to this group, and we have a lot of highlights to get to, so let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right into that Columbus game. What a night that it was to get off to such a great start and then just keep it going in a hostile environment. This is what a championship team is made of. Yeah, and it's just, again, it's just so fitting of Miami to go away to Columbus, one of the most difficult games of the season, and clinch the Supporters Shield there. We know how hostile it is, like you say, and Columbus are such a clever team in possession. They like to control games, and they had their moments in this game, no doubt. But I just felt that Miami's personality, the way they played, they were positive when they could be. They shut up shop. Drake came up with some real solid saves to make it look like we were never really in trouble. And then to have this happen back-to-back, to have Messi get the 2 goals in 2 very different ways, but 2 very Messi-like ways. The touch to get around and just how calmly placed it through. And then the free kick after that. It was quintessential Messi. Exactly, yeah. I mean, look at this. What a ball from Jordi Alba. He sees the run straight away, and we know their connection. But for him to do that, little touch off the chest and the shimmy to get around the defender, it's just absolutely remarkable. And then pick this one out. It's nothing you could do if you're Patrick Schulte. Well, I mean, how many times have we seen this from him since he's, just only been into Miami colours?
again, the way he wraps it around the wall, I think as soon as it leaves his foot, he knows it's going in, and there's not really much anyone can do about it.
And if you know Inter Miami all season long, though, they're not going to make it easy. They're going to make it seem at some point like it's going to get interesting. That's exactly what happened. A quick goal to start the second half for Columbus, but Inter Miami responded immediately.
Again, it's that response that we talk about, that's the stuff of champions. Alert, always ready to pounce. Suarez, the poacher, the pest for defenders, for goalkeepers. He's always been a nightmare to play against, and you just can't give any one of these Miami players at the moment with the form that they're in, you can't give them a sniff because they're just going to punish you.
I love the wherewithal from Campana on that one to just go for the header. That was a very awkward position with the height that the ball popped up to and exactly where he was, but he made no mistake. This was the penalty that was conceded on the handball after a VAR check from Noah Allen. It made it 3-2, and it wasn't the only penalty we would see. Drake Callender, let's give him his flowers because, we always talk through these highlights about him, come up with a big save here or there, none bigger than this one. Otherwise, it's 3-3, and we're not having the Supporters Shield conversation right now.
I mean, I run out of things to say about Drake and the performances that he's had for this club, and you could say that largely the trophies that they've won are down to him, and it's, the reality is that what an incredible moment for him. Recently became a father as well. Congratulations to him on that. But yeah, just an incredible season from this group of players. And
just everything that happened in that game was really descriptive of the season that it's been for Inter Miami. You touched on Noah Allen and Ian Frey starting at center back. It was the 5th straight game with a different center back pairing for the club, and those two especially coming up through the academy and that whole process and the homegrowns. You had that aspect of it. You had Messi being Messi with his 2 goals. You had Campana, who we lose sight of the fact is the club's all-time leading goal scorer, and he comes in, he scores what turned out to be the match-winning goal. Callender makes the match-winning save on the penalty. 100th minute, you've got Messi making that run that we just saw all the way down to the corner at his age, coming off his injury, doing that in the 100th minute of a match with everything on the line. Everything that we've known throughout the season as the team has grown, it all came together in this win against Columbus, and it was something special.
It really was. I mean, you had a plethora, like you say, a plethora of mini stories going on within the team, just like you do any team, to be fair. But I have to pick out of all of those stories. I have to pick out Ian Frey.
Absolutely.
I just have to, because of what he went through over the last few years, and to go and put in a performance like that, just with the magnitude of the game and what was at stake, tells you all you need to know about the player that's there. He spoke after the game, didn't he? And obviously gave his flowers back to Messi after he done the same to him. But wow, I mean, what a night for him! What a night for him! I don't think it's gonna, those nights don't come often as a player, and especially when you've been through what you've been through, what he has. What an incredible capacity, mental strength to come through that, and then on top of all of that, come in and put in performances like he has done since he's come back from injury is just nothing short of his world-class mentality.
And he gets a special star for what we did against Columbus this year, because not only his performance defensively in this one, but remember when we played Columbus back in the summer, back in June, I believe it was, he scored that game-winning goal when he came in. It was one of his first matches back. He had the header off the corner, so our 2 wins against Columbus this season, both because in big part of Frey, and it's just, again, a testament to, at every level of the club, from the staff up through the front office and Henderson, everything about it has just come together in such a way that you have homegrowns, you have U22 signings, you have DPs, you have draft picks with Yannick Bright and the role that he played this year. Every different method available of roster building was put to the test this year. And that's probably why, in my opinion, I think you would agree, Chris Henderson's got to be MLS Executive of the Year.
Without a doubt, because, we said it so many times, didn't we, that, I think probably most people would have expected Miami to have had, a very good season this season with the roster that they have. But it's one thing just predicting that and saying, okay, that this is the team, make it happen. But it's another thing actually executing it, and it comes from many different decisions that you make, even decisions that you made 2-3 years ago to get to this stage. And we talk about Jorge Mas's work in bringing Messi here, that wasn't like a 6-month thing.
Right.
That was years of decision making and effort. And like you say, we get to see, we as the fans get to see the end product and get to see them having a memorable season like we do. But actually, there's so much that goes on in the background, from, like you say, all of the background staff, even just down to the people in the kitchen and the people in the kit room, the medical staff. All of that has to tick in order for you to have a season like they're having. So the whole club deserves all of that credit.
And the best example might be, while all this was going on to win the Supporters Shield, Inter Miami 2 and MLS Next Pro made the playoffs for the first time ever. They were the 3 seed in the playoffs. The opponent's not known yet. MLS Next Pro has a pick your own opponent format, and Inter Miami will have that choice as the 3 seed. But those playoffs don't begin until 2 weekends from now, the 18th of October. So you've got a Supporters Shield at the top level. You've got an academy that has had a ton of success. And now you have that bridging gap in between with the 2-side and MLS Next Pro that also made the playoffs. And to your point of decisions that were made a few years ago impacting now, all these players, Noah Allen, Ian Frey, Bernat Kramaski, David Ruiz, have all come up through that second team. And now you have a second team that finished in 3rd place and is having success. So we're 2-3 years away from those players being on the first team. So it's just a model of sustained success that's been put in place now by the club.
Yes, absolutely. And especially with the academy, you're seeing, you're starting to see that success breed through the club and go right the way through into the youth, which is so important for sustainability and having a successful club. So I think that their focus on that has already paid its dividends, and I think it will continue to do so.
And Julian Gressel, even another one that we can shout out as an unsung hero all season long. Didn't even start in that Columbus game, and that was a rarity. That was a little bit of a risk, it almost seemed, from Tata Martino, player who had been a linchpin in the starting 11 all season long, Julian Gressel. But again, it just shows the depth and the versatility that on any given day, based on the matchup, based on the situation, you can roll out Allen, and you can roll out Frey, and you can tweak things in the midfield or the back line, and it's still going to come off on the day.
Yeah, there's been so many signings like that this season that have stepped up. I mean, you're talking about, we had a period of, what was it, two and a half months without Messi,
right? And
the way that these players stood up in his place during that time, again, just shows you that it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't coincidence. It wasn't luck. It was just pure quality and hard work and dedication, and they really rode off the momentum of the beginning of their season and just carried it straight right the way through. It's really hard to do that. It's really hard to keep that consistent throughout the season. I think any player will tell you that when you're in that zone, it's the best place to be as a footballer. And they just kept hold of that confidence, even when they was knocked back a little bit. A player like Gressel would step up at an important moment and come up with an amazing delivery for someone to head in and just get us back into the game. And there was just so many examples of that.
Absolutely. And I mean, just again, every aspect of that one against Columbus, the play on the field, the celebrations in the locker room after the match, down below us, right below that panel right there, we had a watch party here at Chase Stadium. Fans were going absolutely insane. It was a special time, and it's a day that we're going to remember forever here at the club. But at the same token, we do have to start looking ahead, because the freedom to dream, right? That's been the slogan the whole way. We achieved one of those, winning the Supporters Shield, but it's time to start dreaming about the next thing, and that's MLS Cup. And we want to see this celebration again in December with a different shaped trophy in everybody's hands.
Well, you saw all of the players come out and speak after the game, and they were rightly so. They were extremely happy and celebrated in the moment. But you kind of felt that they were all just saying that this is just part one done,
yeah.
and they're already looking to the next game. They're already looking at the history that they can make. And what's yet still to come. Amazing that they got to have this moment, but I think what was more amazing was to see their focus for the next task at hand, and this will obviously make them stronger. And I think that we saw that in the performance against Toronto, that even though they still have their moments, their confidence is just supreme, and they just look and feel superior to any club in the league right now.
So next week will be a week off, but the week after that, the match against New England means a lot because of the win against Toronto. Before we get to that win against Toronto, this upcoming week is an international break, so best of luck and good wishes of health, please, for all the players who are going off to international duty. Messi for Argentina, Diego Gomez for Paraguay. You've got Leo Campana, who got the call back into Ecuador, David Ruiz for Honduras, and Benja Kramaski for the US U20. So good luck to all of you. Please stay healthy. That is the most important thing, I think, above all else right now, that all those players stay healthy. But when they come back for that game against New England on the 19th, it means something. There's going to be a record on the line, and it's because of the perseverance and the win against Toronto. As we take a look at those highlights now, this was a game that was maybe easy to overlook because you're coming off all those celebrations, and we know beverages were certainly had after that one against Columbus. You got to go on the road against a team that needs to win to stay alive, and it was a lot of roster rotation, but still, they come through in the end.
They absolutely did, and listen, we've seen it so many times before that when a team has clinched the trophy, that the next game they're always susceptible to a hangover. And listen, it was by no means easy, of course, but like I said, the way they just rode out the difficult moments and just you could see that any point they were going to be dangerous. Of course, it didn't come until one of the last minutes. But that's the problem with playing against Miami, is that you have to be perfect for the whole game. You not even for 90 minutes you're safe. At any moment you could be in trouble, and look at that for a finish. I mean, for a player like him as well, with the season that he's had, with the assist from Suarez, who's been in his place for a lot of the time this season. Look at the camaraderie after, the way they celebrate together. It was just an incredible moment, and I'm happy that it was Campana to get that goal. I feel it was thoroughly deserved that he came on and had that impact, because it was completely fitting and telling of the season that he's had.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just the way it all happened in that game. I checked at one point in the first half, it was 8-0 in favor of Toronto. And it looked like a game where you had one team, to your point, who clinched the trophy, had nothing to play for in that regard, as the rain continues to pick up behind us here. It is certainly October in South Florida. And you've got, beside that, a team who's desperate. Toronto, with a loss, which obviously turned out to be the case, they were eliminated from playoff contention. So, desperate team against a team that has nothing to play for anymore in terms of this season. The history, of course, they needed that win against Toronto to keep the record alive, and they still come through. It was not an easy one. It's another victory, and just, again, we sit here almost at a loss for words, where every challenge that has been thrown at this Inter Miami team, they pass it every single time. Yeah,
they're just riding off of the momentum now and that confidence. I think that is just so important going into the playoffs. How you feel mentally as a team. Do you trust each other? And I think that they've gone through so many, even though they've gone through so many ups and downs, I think that the downs that they've gone through, because of their response in those moments, it's just made the team stronger and stronger. And I think that we're going to see a very mentally stable and fit team going into the playoffs, and that's the most important.
So you've all got a week off now, as the team does in this international window. But come back in 2 weeks for that one at home at Chase Stadium against New England, where there will be a record on the line. Inter Miami picks up a win in that one. They will have the most points ever for a single season in MLS. We've been happy to have you with us every step of the way, and please continue to do so by liking and subscribing here on YouTube for the Inter Miami Weekly Show.